first, in fact, by himself at the moment is Ray Robson, pending the result of the Sam Sevian game. Ray, I know Jeffrey's not exactly in the best of form, but beating him like this is not something you would expect normally.
Yeah, I know Jeffrey lost, I guess, 2 games in a row, so I know he's not doing his best for sure. But, I mean, even in those games, it felt like he was playing decently for a while, and then somehow just something went wrong. In this game, I think maybe something went wrong much more quickly. Also, I think this is the first time I've ever been white against him, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. I've played him like a billion times, but I've been black every single game, so I didn't actually, like before I started preparing, like I knew he played like maybe Caro-Kann, but I didn't know like what else he played as black.
Interesting. The opening he played Bishop D6 early on.
Yeah.
Did you expect to see this move on the board?
No, yeah, of course he completely surprised me with Bishop Rossolimo, Bishop B5, then he played E5 and Bishop D6. So I mean, I know that this is an idea. I think some strong players played it. Maybe Magnus played it a few times.
Magnus has played it, yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't remember. I mean, I've looked at it once, probably a little bit, but I couldn't remember during the game any of the ideas. So I just came up with everything over the board. So yeah, Rook E1 was probably a good move. I mean, it's a very logical move, but he started thinking after this move, and it seemed like this was the beginning of his troubles, maybe. So basically, I'm just preparing D4. And then if we have a series of captures on D4, I'll always have the option to play E5, opening up all my pieces, and I can get an initiative. Maybe black is okay somehow, but over the board it looks very scary. So he went for this and BC, so I was really not expecting this. DE, I assumed I'm just better here. Bishop B2, and now if bishop C7 instead of taking on E5. At minimum, I guess I just play E6, and then let's say D takes E6. I can exchange on D8 first, or take G7. Yeah, take G7, Rook G8, go back probably to C3 with the bishop, and I assume I'm just better here. So I didn't really understand what his idea was. Then he played bishop takes E5, which looked like crazy to me, because after knight takes E5, knight takes, my position looks overwhelming. So bishop takes E5 was like my last idea. Like I was trying to use the 2 bishops, trying to like use my lead in development. So F4 is the obvious move. The line I calculated was F4, knight G6. Here, after the game, he mentioned queen D6, which maybe is a good move, but my main line was bishop takes G7, rook G8, and now bishop H6 to protect F4. And now I thought knight D4 at first. And now I thought I should play knight D2 to control F3, because now in case of knight H4, I can play G3 safely, and F3 is covered. And basically, as long as he's not doing anything immediate, his position should be terrible with his lack of development, no safe space for his king. So I thought this is just great. So I was about to play this. Then after bishop H6, suddenly I realized he can play knight H4 immediately. And after G3, because my knight is still on B1, he has queen F6, and my rook is hanging, and also my bishop. And somehow this is just not working tactically for me. After knight H4, I could play bishop G5 instead, but he'll probably sack somewhere. Rook G5, I assumed. Take G3, knight D4, rook A3, rook B8, and these pieces suddenly are very active, and my structure has been shattered. So this looked very unclear to me. Like I didn't want to go for this at all. So unfortunately, eventually I kind of had to bail out, and I took. But I think I'm still better in the resulting position. Knight C6, queen C5 should be slightly better, but definitely wasn't expecting the game to progress as quickly as it did in my direction.
Rapidly got to an end game.
Yeah, so this was another critical moment. He has a lot of decisions. He can go to D6, he can go to F6. Actually, those were the only 2 I really considered. I didn't think king D8 could be good because his pieces get boxed. So yeah, king D6 is the most natural to blockade the pawn. And then something like rook B1. And obviously, he can never really take D5 with his king there. And yeah, I'm definitely better. My rook's coming to B6. Pawn, if he lets me, will probably come to A5 to support the rook on B6. and his king is kind of in danger, although probably I can never just outright mate it with the 3 pieces. But I'm definitely pressing. This was one option. Actually, I thought king f6 might be safer. And I think he was worried about rook a3 here, which is logical. And then I calculated g6, rook f3, king g7. I bring the rook to the 7th rank. He has to play rook f8. Now if I do nothing, he'll get to play d6. So d6 for me is the logical move. And now I prepare bishop b3, which looks great. The problem is now he has bishop b7 with tempo, because I opened the diagonal and he gets his bishop out into the game, and it felt like he's surviving this. So unfortunately, I probably wasn't going to be able to play rook a3. So I wasn't sure. I can play something simple like rook b1, d6, rook b6, rook d8, and something like a5. So I'm definitely better, but he's definitely resisting, and he still has decent chances to hold this. So I was expecting king f6 or king d6 in the game. King d8 just seemed like a big mistake. After d6, his pieces are just getting all boxed in the back rank. And this stage, let's say he takes on b1, and I take rook e8. There's probably many ways to win, but probably my plan was going to be king f1. Let's say rook e6, rook b6, and at some point he'll have to move the rook. Let's say rook e5, in that position. Rook b8, rook c5, bishop a6, rook c6, bishop b7. So basically I just get this construction. He has to keep his rook there. Now I just bring my king up because he can only move his rook. So I just bring my king all the way up to d4, and I think even if I go to the pawn game and go after his a-pawn, that's just winning. So he just can't do anything. And the game, I just basically pushed my pawn. I mean, all his pieces were stuck on the back rank, and there are mating ideas with rook c8. So here it's just over.
Well, pretty convincing from your side. You have to make the moves that gives you the opportunities. Of course, you'll take them. You're in first place at the moment in the U.S. Chess Championship after 4 rounds before rest day. Have you ever found yourself in this position before? Clear first in the tournament.
Well, probably after 2 games I've been. I think I've started 2-0 before. Actually, that was, I think, 2016. I think that was the first time Jeffrey played in U.S. Championship, and I played him in the 3rd round in that game. And actually, I felt like in amazing form in those first 2 games. And then the night before that game, I got like food poisoning. And then the next day I had to play very young Jeffrey, and he put tons of pressure on me. I had to defend like a very bad endgame for like 80 moves, and somehow I defended and drew. But that was probably maybe the only other time I would have been in the lead. The thing is, I'm very happy with the result so far. Like with my first 4 pairings, I thought +2 would probably be the best I could reasonably expect to score or hope to score. But with the positions I had, like I could have scored 4 out of 4. Like against both of Sam Sevi and Sam Shanklin, I had very good chances. Maybe it's a bit much to expect to win both, but at least one out of two was very possible. Unfortunately, I didn't win either of those, but very happy that I got another win today.
And you have yet to play against the big dogs, Dominguez, Wesley So, Fabiano Caruana. So certainly the work isn't done.
Yeah, it's very funny pairings. Like I think I'm black against all those guys. Like I'm black against Fabi, black against Lanier, black against Wesley. So it's interesting pairings. Obviously, if I can do all my black games, then I'll be in good position. But I guess we'll have to see how they go.
All right. Well, congratulations on the day so far. Get your rest. We'll see you in a couple of days.
Thanks.
Well done, Ray.